Hi, this is Emily here, and I just wanted to take a moment to talk about books, but specifically the horror genre. I've always been a bit of a book nerd, worm, but really, I've always been a huge fan of books, not because of, the popular belief that books aren't cool, but they really are. Nothing else on this planet stimulates our ever-decaying imaginations, but can also make us feel real emotions. Ew. From a very unreal source. Horror is very special because of that. I mean, what else can make you feel like your bones are rattling on the seat of your pants? What else can literally make you want to puke your guts out? What else can give you nightmares? And I'm not talking about all that unresolved childhood trauma. Some people, the wrong ones, think that horror is low-brow. Now, I have a degree in English. I've read all that highbrow Shakespeare, Milton, Victorian, oh my god, I just saw her ankles, and I'm unconditionally in love with her stuff. I'm talking about you, Mr. Darcy. But do you want to know a secret? Despite my ungodly love for Shakespeare, and yes, we're all allowed to be basic sometimes, rarely does that stuff actually make me feel. And what we think about horror, and we think about all that stuff that makes us want to die, you know who we all love? All hail the king, am I right? Stephen King is popular. Yes, I can admit that, but he revolutionized horror. But how and why? Well, before we get into all the gory details, let's go back to the beginning. The matriarch of all modern science fiction and horror, Mary Shelley herself, and
Frankenstein's monster.
The novel Frankenstein was originally written as a part of a competition in Lord Byron's swanky mansion, and the objective being who could write the creepiest story. In a nightmarish haze, Shelley was influenced by the scientific exploits of her time that involved reanimating the undead to write a sickly biblical and oddly academic novel about a college student who moves away from his parents to start to become obsessed with chemistry. Of all things on the frickin' planet, but, and literally start to desecrate graves. From there, he became a metaphorical mother to a monster that he wants nothing to do with. So, maybe we are talking about childhood trauma. But my point is, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein is incredibly relevant, and not only to her little clique and fellow romantics of the early 19th century. We're talking about a stressed-out college kid who doesn't understand responsibility. Sound familiar? Horror is about monsters. Plain and simple, really. Whether we're talking about slasher, paranormal, psychological, or just plain creepy. There are always monsters prevalent. They're either lurking in the dark corners of our house or in the dark corners of our minds. King takes that and runs with it. Who here remembers middle school? And I'm not talking about just the nice parts, like the ice cream machine, or maybe recess. I'm talking about all the worst parts, like, do you even remember the absolute roasts that would go on during the bus ride home? Or how about we bring out the yearbook and think about puberty? Stephen King writes children with so much realism that I really do wonder, sometimes, if he doesn't actually keep the brain of a small child on his desk at home. And that's where his inspiration comes from. He takes a seemingly small town and exploits every single fear about it. The inescapability of generational past, the bullies, the homophobia, the list is endless. It, and I say that with quotations, is almost akin to that unstoppable tidal force that always comes back. Like that one ex who just won't leave you alone. It takes paranoia and makes it physical. He takes something that everyone has, the way that summer, when you're 12, with your friends, seems to just last forever, and he turns it wicked. Horror is highbrow because it takes something that everybody knows, like childhood, and stress, coming of age, responsibility, And it takes the things that we find in everyday life, the comfortable, if you will, and makes it so nauseating that some people won't even touch it with a 10-foot pole. But the true secret, what do people call coming out of your comfort zone? They call it growth. So, good horror, at its core, promotes personal growth. And what's more metal than that? Take that, Mr. Darcy.